Hello, everyone, and welcome to OpsX 2021. We welcome you all to our roundtable session on operational leadership. My name is Luana Ramcharan. I'm a director of product design for Zenput, and I'm so excited to have you all here today to join us in this informal session where we discuss operations execution with some of our experts here that have been using Zenput for quite some time and have some advice to share out. We're also going to be having a Q&A during this session. So I invite you all to ask your questions in the chat bar to the side of your screen. We'd love to answer any questions you have around operations leadership. I'd like to start out by introducing our esteemed panel. I'm going to start with Heather Burton. Heather, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Heather Burton. I'm with Double Quick. We're a convenience store chain in Eastern Kentucky. We have 40 stores. I've been with the company for about 7 years now. Prior to that, I was in healthcare for many years, but I'm really excited to be here today, and thanks for asking me.
Thank you, Heather. And Julie Castro, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Castro. I'm the Director of Culinary Operations and Operations Services for California Pizza Kitchen. We have a little under 250 locations between our U.S. and international locations. And I've been in this role for about 4 years, and I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you, Julie. Hello, AJ.
Hello, everyone. My name is AJ Demija. I'm the head of quality assurance, compliance, and inventory management for a company called Gorillas. We are in about 9 different countries right now with over 100 locations. And thank you so much for inviting me to the panel.
Thank you, AJ. And last but not least, Tom. He's going to be our proctor today, so you're going to be chatting with Tom when you're asking your questions. Tom, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, nice to be here. Welcome, everyone. I am a customer success manager here at Zenput, and I've been here for about 2 years. Looking forward to seeing your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And with that, I'd love to jump into some questions that we've already crowdsourced that I'm going to be asking our panel and facilitating with. I'd love to start out with the reflection on our last 2 years. It's been really crazy for all of us around the world. Obviously. So I'd love to know, as an operations leader, what has been some of the more difficult changes that you've had to roll out or navigate across your operation? I'd love to start with Julie. I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yes, thank you. Certainly the most challenging has been really to navigate the ever-changing environment over the last 2 years. You know, especially here in California, navigating through things like reducing the menu and offering groceries like a grocery store, and navigating new health and safety protocols, furloughing employees and then bringing them back, and really navigating the numerous dining room closing and reopening throughout the last 18 months has certainly been the most challenging. I think for us as a new user to Zenput, we didn't really have that preconceived idea of how to use the platform, and that really worked to our advantage. We were able to leverage the technology to be more impactful and navigate some of those changes. So definitely an interesting last 2 years.
Excellent. Heather, I know that you probably have a different perspective coming from a C-store space.
Well, it is a different perspective to some degree, but then again, I feel like it's a lot of exactly what Julie said. You know, brand new changes, daily changes. We got a lot of our employee, requirements for change on Friday at 4 o'clock. Like, everybody works 9 to 5, and obviously they don't. So we had to start rolling things out on weekends. So we had to use a lot of I want to say maybe improved and certainly more detailed communication processes with our teams. Tried to come up with diverse ways and even old ways, but still about communication from the top to the bottom, from the bottom back up to the top, to make sure that all of our employees were aware of the changes, felt comfortable with the changes, addressed people's concerns. I think the mental stress on all of us, all of our employees throughout this entire 18 to 24 months has been extreme. And I'd like to say it's kind of over, but then again, it's kind of not, because we keep having continued spikes and changes and relapses. And so I think it's just a continued process for me as a leader. I had to really dig in and improve my communication, with my team, and really get back to daily, even sometimes multiple times on a daily basis, about what changes we needed to take for the safety of our customers, for the safety of our employees, for to be compliant. So it has been a challenge, but Julie hit the nail on the head in regards to just it is constant change.
And AJ, I know that your service has probably been huge demand because of everything going on in the world. How about you? What have you gone through?
Definitely. So Gorillas is an on-demand grocery delivery company. And the most important thing I think from this panel is that we're the newest company. We've only been operating for about 8 months in the UK. And with that comes massive challenge in terms of new teams. We're a very, very, very unestablished business right now, and we're working towards it. But getting all of the information and pushing out communication, learning from our teams has been absolutely important. I think the key word there is communication. So while we're working with new teams and new customers in this very new space, I think getting two-way feedback has been extremely important. I think Zenput's definitely helped me, or it absolutely has helped me, push out communications and then learn from the team as to where we need to improve the business and where we need to move forward. I always make the joke, I've become one of the most popular, people in the business because everybody wants data from me. Everyone wants quick answers from me. And Zenput's definitely the way I've been able to do that with the business. And it's been a very, very easy, quick collection point for me to get fast answers across 31 warehouses, which we have in the UK, and really just collect that data quickly and then push it back to whoever I need to. So there have been a lot of operational challenges, but definitely Zenput's been one of the most important ways to help me collect all the information I need pretty quickly.
Excellent. Along the theme of communication that you all brought up and kind of staying connected with your stores, I'd love to ask all of you about maybe a before and after picture of using Zenput. I'm sure you log into Zenput often just to stay connected with your stores and locations. But how has Zenput actually changed your personal relationship with your stores and how you oversee them? I'll start with Heather.
Well, Zenput has, again, helped with the communication process throughout this whole time frame. The creation of a new form or a new requirement that we've asked from the stores, the accountability to help gather that data back and forth, and the communication of from a leadership standpoint of what we need to change, what we need to modify, how we need to help and support maybe specific teams, specific stores in our case. So just that two-way communication and information exchange has been very valuable throughout this, and for the last 18 months, it feels like we've been very time crunched. So we had to respond very quickly, whereas previously we might take a week or 2 weeks or sometimes a month or even 6 months to make some changes. But with all of what we've been given, we had to make sometimes daily changes, hourly changes, and that two-way communication back and forth with Zenput gives you that data quickly, easy access, helps you aggregate and collate, and then basically disseminate it back out to those that it needs to apply to.
How about you, Julie? How do you keep your pulse on things?
Yeah, at California Pizza Kitchen, we rolled out Zenput in April of 2020. So you can imagine the transition there. Prior to Zenput and prior to the pandemic, CPK has always been a very checklist heavy company. And we had very little visibility onto not only were those checklists being completed, but really how well those checklists were being completed. So one of our big goals in introducing Zenput was to have the visibility on how restaurants were performing, how well they were completing the checklist, as well as the quality of work within those checklists. I think what's really changed is the ability, and I think, Heather and AJ have referenced this already, is the communication communication back from the restaurants. It's not just about us pushing out, here's your cleaning checklist, here's your line check, and measuring the results of those, but really going as far as being able to gather feedback. Whether it's an inventory item that we wanted to understand what's out there in the restaurants, to taking pictures of the signage on their front doors, we were able to collect that information in a very quick and efficient way. And that, I think, has really revolutionized how we use this platform. It's not just the push of information, but also the pull of the feedback that we've gotten. I think that's really changed the game for us.
And AJ, I'd love for you to add, because you don't necessarily have like stores but you have locations that you have to keep track of.
Yeah, so we have a lot of dark sites, right? That's where we operate from. But I think both Heather and Julie touched upon accountability. I think that's been the most crucial aspect, whether it's Zenput completion rate, which everyone loves to get all aggressive about and really compete with each other. But also accountability, let's say on the supplier side. So if there's an issue with a product in 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 warehouses, then we can feed that back to the supplier with pictures, with evidence, and say, look, you're not doing right by us. But then also it helps protect the supplier as well. That's just one small example. Another example in terms of communication is we have an organization in the UK. It's a government organization called the Environmental Health Organization. And they come in and do food safety, compliance, health and safety checks. And having our warehouses or putting together a full checklist and then having our warehouses complete that on their own gives them more confidence. So when an EHO officer does show up, then they can go through and they can complete that on their own. And then they feel, okay, I'm ready for this EHO visit whenever it pops up. So it gives the warehouses as well, from our perspective, it gives the teams more confidence, and then also helps us know as a head office team or back office team know where our teams sit in terms of where we need to help them improve as well. But I think accountability is the biggest aspect which we've all been driving towards, and I think that's really, really helped from both ends.
Can I add about the pictures, just because the photos have been, a great asset to the platform. And it just, I know when my team calls and says, hey, a vendor didn't do, or a partner we didn't get. I mean, I believe them, but sometimes when you take that information back, and this, and are you sure? But that photo, you can't lie about that photo. I mean, it speaks volumes as to exactly what happened and what's going on. And so just that validation and that communication with even our outside partners, is just a great asset with this whole process. So we really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive feedback around like our photo and gallery features. I'm glad that you've found a lot of benefit in it. So we've talked a little bit about the past and reflecting around your experience. Love to hear perspectives on the future. So when you're planning out your next quarter or what the upcoming year looks like, 2022, how do you actually prioritize which projects you want to focus on, what operations areas you want to improve? AJ, I'd love to hear your take on this first.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been using these forms a lot to kind of figure out where the future goes, right? So whether it's space constraints in our warehouse. So for example, we ask our warehouse, are you struggling with fridge space, freezer space, ambient space? We'll take that information, we'll bring it back. Whether are the deliveries too much to handle, right? We have a completion timer on there as well. So they'll start the timer when they start, stop the timer when they end, and just using that information, especially completion time as well. So when you download the CSV file, you can see how long it actually took the warehouses or the warehouse managers to figure out how long it took them to complete it. And then we can use that information on the back end, say, do we need to adjust our orders? Do we need to increase labor in our warehouses? I mean, everything comes down to cost, but it also comes down to doing right by your teams as well. So if we can balance the scales a bit and say, okay, it took them a bit longer, or you need maybe more bodies in the warehouse, we can use all that information to kind of figure out exactly where we're going, and then we can put our cost to it and then put our proposals forward. So I think the actual raw numbers are the things that are really helping us out the most to figure out how to do right by our teams on a whole and plan for the next quarter or 2 quarters or 3 quarters.
Yeah, that hits a lot on something that Tim Olshansky, our Chief Product and Technology Officer, mentioned this morning. And it's a space that we're investing a lot of time in because we're understanding that you're looking for those kind of numbers or data to really just drive your decision making. Julie, do you have some things coming up in the next year that you want to focus on?
Absolutely. You know, our calendar is really dictated by the marketing and menu rollout calendar. And that's kind of the framework for how we roll out initiatives within our brand. We also utilize our learning management system on a monthly basis to kind of roll out or push out information each month. And really right now, because we are still newer to Zenput, what I focus on is looking at and really evaluating some of our current systems and trying to prioritize what would be the most impactful for the brand, for an individual restaurant, if we transition that process to Zenput. And I work with departments throughout the company to understand, what are some of the challenges in the current system and how can Zenput really maximize the efficiency of that process. So more recently, I've been working with our procurement team, distribution team, as we all know that there are many challenges within the distribution side. And we've integrated order forms that go directly to vendors. We worked on feedback for distribution partners. So there's a lot of ways, that currently just evaluating what it would be the most impactful. And so that's kind of how I've strategized the projects. I think also, really being open and aware when one restaurant reaches out or one manager reaches out with a problem or a challenge, really thinking through how could Zenput, help you do your job better. And I really find, I think AJ referenced that he's, one of the most popular people in the company. I think taking one restaurant, one person at a time and really supporting them through this platform is how you win over people to really become the champions of this platform. So it's not just me, but it's everybody else, saying how great and this is so amazing. And that's really, I think, speaks volumes to the platform and what the capabilities are.
I love that you all are using the insights that you're getting to really coach and mentor as well, in your operational practice. That's a common theme I'm hearing from all of you. Heather, what are you looking forward to in the next year? What projects are you focusing on?
Well, I guess I would like for things to kind of stabilize and not so much change. Can I say that? I'm sure the whole country, though, the whole world is looking for that. So I don't think I'm being too selfish in asking for that for all of us. But as a leader, we've often sit and we think, what's our 6-month, 12-month, 3-year, 5-year strategic goals? And it feels like a lot of those got kind of thrown out the window for the last 2 years. So I'm looking forward to reeling back in and really sitting down with our leadership team and identifying the items, the areas that we want to focus on the most. We want to continue to grow our food service program and our convenience stores. We want to continue to support the customers. I feel like the convenience stores employees have received a little pat on the back as we were finally deemed essential. And I feel like we've gotten a little appreciation from our communities that maybe was often overlooked. But AJ, I think, is also feeling some of that need with his company as well. So it's nice to have that attention given to us. But I really want to focus on our customer safety, our employee safety, and I know Zenput can help continue giving us that data and that information and the education with the team communication to help us grow forward with those goals that we have. So looking forward to what's to come.
Wonderful. I will validate that our C-Store has saved us a couple of times when we were on some paper good runs last year.
Luana, on Heather's last note, so we implemented a couple forms, right? So warehouse feedback forms. So anybody across any of our warehouses can give us feedback, whether it's, hey, I really think that we should suggest this product, or hey, you know what, this product's really not been doing very well. Can we please cut it? Through, hey, you know what, I want to spray paint the walls. Do you think we can do that? And that goes straight to the facilities team. And then they'll come back and say, yeah, go ahead, do your thing. All the way through, like when we talk about planning, we talk about safety a lot, right? Site security, rider safety. And we ask questions like, what was the weather outside? So then when we see the weather at a certain point again in the future, we can then plan for that as well, whether that's putting up banners saying, look, your delivery may be delayed by 1 minute or 2 minutes, all the way through, I think this bike's unsafe. So then we go back to the bike company and say, hey, and just an FYI, we've had a few complaints from our team. Can we please work on the safety feature? And then we implement. A lot of riders have been talking about the weight on the bag. So we go back to the rider, with the supplier of the bike, and they implement a safety procedure there. So I think in terms of planning, getting the feedback from our teams who are constantly facing challenges on a daily basis has been the most important aspect for us, to get that feedback, take it forward, and then reach out to us. By getting that feedback and doing nothing with it, it was really difficult before we had Zenput. An email would go to someone, and it would just get lost in translation. But now with Zenput, I can send a trigger to 7 different departments, and then someone's going to have something and say, you know what, that's actually a decent idea. Let's run forward with it. So that's been really strategic in our planning.
That's amazing. And that's actually the perfect segue to the next question I had for you. You've done these forms and surveys, and you've kept this pulse on your location managers that are working in your various locations. So I'm curious, like, what do you find is that secret sauce? Like, what makes some location managers really successful in their store execution? And we could continue with AJ.
Communication. The most successful warehouse managers we have are the ones who over communicate. Getting the forms back, getting the feedback forms back. Someone who picks up on, hey, you made a spelling error. I mean, even those minute details still shows me that they are taking the time. And I personally do all of the forms, so I don't take it personally. I'm like, you know what? I've had 700 submissions this past month, but only one person picked up on that. So thank you for noting that. But I really think the secret sauce is communication. Someone who not only does the forms, not just to tick a box, but really takes the time to fill out the forms the right way, knowing full well that they then will be ready for an EHO visit, or they're just doing it because they have to do it and they should be doing it, and they're doing the right thing by the business. We revisit the forms once a month, and it is a heavy, heavy task, but we do it to make sure that we're not overloading any of our teams with too many forms. But this then means that every form means something. Every form serves a purpose. There's no form that's there just as a placeholder. So that's why we invest the time to, myself and my team invest the time to go through every single form and every single question. It's a time investment. But those warehouse managers and supervisors who then come back to us and say, hey, I noticed this, could we put this in play? Those are the ones who we've seen grow with the business, even though we've only been around for 9 months. They're the ones who have invested time into us, and then we're more than happy to invest time into the rest of the team.
Heather, have you found the same, like for the secret sauce in your location? Is it communication? Is it something else that you've seen?
I feel like for us, a lot of exactly what AJ say is spot on, of course. But I also feel like for me personally, it's important for us to go back and follow up with that manager specifically, the back and forth, because if they think they're just submitting stuff and no one's looking at it, and sometimes it might be true and sometimes it may not be true, they just need to know that their work is being validated and the information is important. So that would be my advice, is to just make sure there is that thank you, two-way communication. Great idea. We can't implement it now. I see this is going on. So just the back and forth of letting people know that you're really looking, because the ultimately measure what matters, and then you need to to be react to that information.
Julie, how about the secret sauce for your location managers? What's their secret?
I would say that those that are successful with Zenput were successful before Zenput. Those restaurants and those general managers already have the systems in place. They already have those behaviors within their restaurant. Handing them a platform didn't change that behavior. It just becomes more visible when someone's not doing it. And I think that that's a really important lesson. You're not going to change the business simply by a form. You are then just given more data in which to help coach them, help support those that need that extra support that you maybe didn't know prior to the platform or a form.
Excellent. I love hearing like all the variations between like your industries and what's kind of making them successful, but also the similarities too. I have one more question before we go into opening it up to our audience. I just want to hear, not just from an operations standpoint, but just in general, like what are you excited about in the next 12 months? I'll start with Julie.
Well, I think Heather hit it on the nail on the head. We definitely want some normalcy, less change would be number one. I think we can all agree on that. I think specifically though, for our brand, something that we've really been looking for from Zenput since we started was the shelf to sheet functionality. And we are so thrilled that that is in development and coming soon. So I think that's probably the most, specific strategic functionality that we're looking for. Or looking forward to.
AJ, what are you looking forward to?
I hope it doesn't sound too selfish, but just simply growth. I mean, I want to be on a panel next year when Zenput invites me back and I actually say gorillas and everyone says, oh, I've heard of you. But we're a very young company. We're a baby company. We have come pretty far, but I think growth is what we're looking for, but the right growth, right? I think Julie said it where it's not just measured numbers. It's, not just ticking a box again, but it's about like, let's do it the right way. And then Heather mentioned just that follow up as well. Like someone is taking notice. It might not be caught the first time, second time, but it is noticeable. But I think growth, but steady growth is the most important thing. Not just, hey, let's open up a bunch of sites, but let's do it right, and let's learn from the previous mistakes as well. And Zenput has helped us with that. We've learned a lot from, hey, we shouldn't do this next time, or we shouldn't deal with this certain supplier, or we should discontinue a line, and we've got all that feedback, and then we open up our new sites, but we do it the right way that time. So, but yeah, one word, growth. I think the right growth would be my hope for the coming year.
Heather, what are you excited about?
Well, I can certainly agree with both Julie and AJ about, normalcy and growth. But for me, I'm really excited about maybe some new opportunities with new technology. It feels like some of us had, on our plate 2 years ago, 18 months ago, about decisions on what technology we wanted to add to our company or organization and which direction to go. But it was just, kind of still not sure. And I feel like with what we have gone through, we've identified, and it's helped us really drill down into some areas that could be beneficial for our company in the long run, and the technology that could be added, whether it's software, hardware, even some AI stuff out there that seems really cool. So I'm excited about what the next 18 to 24 months brings in regards to that.
So many exciting things to looking forward to the next year. And yeah, I think we all will say that we crave some semblance of normalcy. But I'm so excited for you all and all the things you have coming up. Tom, I'm going to ask you to pop in. Do we have any questions from the audience?
We do. We have some great questions here. Let me start out. The first one is, what form in particular have you found to be most effective at using Zenput to drive site level execution?
Good question.
I can jump in here. I think, for us as a restaurant company, obviously food execution and food safety are our number one priorities. That's our bread and butter. So, being able to integrate our line checks, which is really our food quality and safety check that happens twice a day, that was really the first game changer for us within Zenput.
Follow up on that. Food safety is a very, very big part of any food industry. Being an on-demand grocery delivery company, food safety is extremely important. But because we have warehouses and we have our team inside our warehouses, we want to make sure we're staying compliant across the board. So Zenput helped us keep track of fire alarm tests, water testing, everything you can imagine that's extremely important to our people safety and our health and safety side, whether it's pictures. I mean, we ask for videos on some of them. Can you show me what you're seeing, so then I can track that back and I can take that away to the facilities team, for example, or the other safety team. That's been extremely important for us and extremely valuable as well.
I'll add in about safety as well. We recently added a report, a form for our accidents. So employee accidents, customer accidents, anything that happens within our convenience store, parameters. And what we realized is that some of the information we were getting back was missing, incomplete, didn't have enough photos, the right photos. So with this form, we're able to send the information to those that need it to review it, immediately, so that they can then follow back up and gather more, get more coaching counsel about, what else is necessary and required and is important. And again, that information is used, on into the future to prevent anything, of similarity that could occur at any of the other locations. So the safety is a huge part of what we use Zenput platform for.
On the back of what Heather said, I remember the day we introduced accident forms on May 6th, right? And the reason I know that is because before then we had very little visibility. But the best thing about it is if we're missing a piece of information on the form, we can just add another question and make it required or make it not required. And then that's it. We have it on the next time. And if we're missing another piece, we didn't add weather until probably 2 months ago. And then we started to track weather, what the weather conditions were like. And then we didn't add a malfunction button. And then all these different things. If you're missing a question, you can just add another one and then it'll be picked up on the next one, which I love. And we can just track that information every time and we can learn as we're going along.
I love that addition that not just like the safety forms are very helpful, but also like the flexibility of the functionality within the form to really custom it to whatever your need is a great insight. Do you have any other questions, Tom?
We do. Next question is, what suggestions do you have for operations leaders that are just starting out with Zenput?
Well, my advice would be to really, I think from a top-down perspective, you need to own it. You need to say, this is important. This is how it's going to make us better. This is, you kind of have to sell it to the team because sometimes they can see it as just another task. But I do feel like it has a lot of value, as we've talked about, the data, the information, the decision making that can be gathered from the information that you receive. So start out with a couple of really good forms that you think are going to be impactful to the team. Sell that, educate it, be the cheerleader. I think every project needs a team cheerleader. So that would be my advice. And then after that, for our company anyways, I think if I tried to take Zenput away, I might be ran out of town. So to think about going back to the old ways we did stuff and the incompleteness of the process and sometimes even it just didn't help. It was just a task that was often done. So I definitely feel like you need a cheerleader and to help the team see that it pick something valuable, and so that the team will see that it is valuable, and then they'll be on board, and it'll be a forever process within the organization after that.
Yeah, to add to that, I think, it's about building relationships, right? Cross-functionally within your company so that you can really show the ROI for this platform. Within our company, that was really the legal department. And I think, if you can get legal on board with anything you are trying to roll out, you are going to win. And they really, really advocated for the platform because of some of the safety and accident forms that were really only possible through this platform. So build the relationships, be able to show the ROI, and it will really start taking on a whole life of its own.
Definitely. Just to add to that, Heather discussed, it was around not only just Julie saying building relationships, but just really own it. I mean, our customer success manager, Annika, she probably got really fed up with me. Just, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? We used to meet once a week, but really it was just about really build a relationship and take advantage of what Zenput's giving you. If they're giving you a customer success manager, Annika probably deserves a raise, just the amount of time she put into, helping me get there. But we've launched in 9 countries now, and I've got admins from other countries calling me, asking me, how do I do this? How do I do that? Which is because I invested the time into it, because I really, really owned it. And I think we have one of the best Zenput processes out of the entire company. And I'm really proud of that. But again, you just have to really own it and make it your own. And then it becomes easier from there. So really, really need to put the time into it, and then you'll get everything you need out of it.
Great. We do have one more here. The other question is, what are some of the long-term and short-term challenges facing you today?
I think short-term staffing, certainly in many industries, that is the short-term challenge. And I think, from a long-term perspective, it's about building those systems in place with staffing and your people to propel you for the next, few years. I think most people agree that at the end of the day, it comes down to people. And the culture of your company is going to dictate how well you not only hire, but retain employees and team members. And those people are really on the front line to propel your business, into the future. So, definitely those are the challenges, I think, just across the board outside of Zenput. I think for us, Zenput has been a huge partner to help with that, whether it's we have a management referral form that people can fill out so we can kind of maximize the efficiency to refer and hire new managers and employees. As well as other forms that just communicate out information to, back and forth between the recruiting team and our restaurants.
I think short-term challenge for us, I don't think we're isolated in this. I think in the UK, the supply chain and logistics has taken a massive, massive hit, not just because of Brexit, not just because of COVID, but there are other factors in there as well. I think short-term is really getting through that, especially being an on-demand grocery delivery company and having the best availability possible. But then long-term is, how do you then use the lessons learned from the short term and then propel them forward into your long-term? So how do you think about, what if this happens again? How do you then build a structure in place or build something in place to avoid that, or I guess to make it a smoother transition if it happens again? So Zenput has helped us get that feedback from the warehouses, also then track how much comes in versus what we've actually ordered, and then really just push that forward. So again, Zenput's just been an invaluable player in terms of just getting those bits of information so we can build a long-term plan and say, if we're in this position again, what do we do? How do we use the data to then make sure that we're better equipped next time? And by the way, I wrote down manager referral form. I think that's a really cool idea. So our teams can start using that. So
I can't say it any better than both Julie and AJ have already said it. Employees is certainly, a short-term issue, and I'm afraid it might be a longer-term issue than I want to admit right now, or even accept. Supply chain, also, the convenience store, along with even the big box locations, what we have available for our customers. We've laughed and said we've gone through probably 6, 7, 8 subs on some items within our food service department. So at some point you're like, you can't even remember what you originally had. So, those two are the biggest impact. I just think, again, supporting our teams over the longevity, those that have stayed with us, those that have consistently been with us. So we've got to continue to support them. And so I think that's, part of what I have to focus on going forward.
And Tom, I think we have time for one more question.
The other question was, do any of you use Zenput for onboarding a new hire? And if so, what is that experience like?
I do not use it for onboarding, but it's a great idea. So maybe as we talk through this, it might be our next Zenput form.
There we go.
So we do.
Go ahead.
We use it for, so we have a few different positions in the warehouses. We have rider onboarding. We don't use it for rider onboarding because their onboarding is, a bit different, a bit more intense. But we use it for inventory associate onboarding, ops associates, so those who do the picking, the packing in our warehouses. Management, warehouse managers, extremely important. For training warehouse managers, and then those training the manager, hey, have you hit this point? Have you discussed this? In the event of this, have you discussed this? And then the best part is I always love this signature button, by the way. So it just adds a level of accountability. So when we're doing, I guess, an audit of the warehouse or a compliance audit, sign at the bottom saying, hey, my name is this, and this is what I'm putting my name to, saying that everything above is true. And it's really valuable when you're doing a training checklist. Say, hey, I am confident I'm signing my name that I've set Tom up the best way possible as a warehouse manager. I'm saying that he's ready to go. So we do use it, and it's really valuable to then our recruitment team to say, this person's ready to go. Like, we're ready to put them in a warehouse, and there they go. So.
We do not at CPK currently use it for onboarding. One of the big notes I took from yesterday's API session was to explore the opportunity of the API integration for things like onboarding as well as certifications. We do have internal delivery drivers, and so managing that certification and recertification process is pretty cumbersome. So looking forward to that in the future.
Excellent. I love that even amongst our panel, we got some new ideas going on here. I think that's all we have time for. We're just going to wrap up. I would love to thank our panelists here, Heather, AJ, Julie. I think the wealth of knowledge you've shared has been immense, and I hope that our audience feels the same. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to spend some time with us. I'd love to thank Tom for proctoring and fielding the questions that the audience has. If anybody in the audience does have more questions, there are surveys and there's things connected to our conference to still share those. And remember that we still have the rest of the conference going on. There's still our foundations track where we're talking about simple tips to get out of Zenput. It's a part 2 from what we had yesterday. And we have the advanced track where we're talking about use cases for non-ops related functions and maximizing that value. So please stay tuned to the rest of the conference. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again. Take care.